Welcome to Daring Dialogues Live. I'm your host, Shantae Charles, and I hope that you've been having a great and wonderful day thus far. I am coming on several hours early because, as most of you probably know by now, social media sites are down globally. And Facebook, I believe Facebook, IG, and TikTok are all down, and YouTube appears to be the one that is up. And also, podcasts are still available. So I will be broadcasting early so that those of you who follow us on those platforms will be able to come here and also to our anchor to view. Now, one thing I would like to say is that because of YouTube's adjusted policies around live streaming, it appears that I am able to live stream to a smaller audience due to their adjustments. If you had less than 1,000 subscribers, you could not go live via your mobile app. And so, because of those adjusted policies, I am able to go live. So I'll be doing this more often here, right here on the YouTube space. But if you want to catch all of season 9 of Daring Dialogues, you can go to anchor.fm/Daring Dialogues, or you can hit the videos on our Daring Dialogues Facebook page and you will see season 9. Which, if you've been a subscriber here on our YouTube channel, you probably noticed that we didn't post season 9 here because of those restrictions. So I want to get into today's Monday motivation. And I've been thinking about this topic since last night, and it's amazing because I've actually seen three different people in my circles of communication. I've seen three different people comment on this same idea, and I want to read their statements because I feel like it's really important for us to dive into this today on this Monday motivation. And that is the topic of knowing your worth and not downplaying your value. So if you're watching this live or you're watching it by replay, I want you to type, I must know my worth and not downplay my value. Again, I must know my worth and not downplay my value. So I want to read these three statements and then I'm going to jump into my thoughts on it. The first statement is coming from a pastor friend of mine by the name of Gregory. And Gregory said, I had the opportunity to be invited to speak on a platform or speak with multimillionaires, six-figure earnings with PhDs, and it was a good door that was open. But then he said, I grew restless as I realized that it was a door that I had to close. And he said, I reflected on my life, realizing that I have paid my restitution and it's time for restoration. One of the biggest mistakes I made in re-entry process back into society was playing down my value. I wouldn't charge for services. I worked and served for free. Regrettably, some people grew accustomed to that. Now it is difficult for them to accept that I charge for my professional services. Well, I have paid my restitution and it's time for restoration. My gift makes room for me. I've since learned that we must gain control over our mantle and our money, or the lack of control over both of these measures will control us and cost us. I know the value of my mantle, and therein lies the more abundant. And I want to get down to what he was saying here, which was he was playing down his own value by offering everything that he had been gifted to do for free. People automatically took that as he was supposed to continue to do that. So that's one statement there. And then the next statement I want to read to you comes from another pastor friend, Tracy. She said, it's been a rough season and I didn't stop. I pressed my way through and I'm still pressing. Now, this was a statement that she had written in the past, but here's what she has to say today. Years ago, I considered this a victory statement. Experience and spirit has taught me it's not. I am actively working to stop pressing, to honor my body and my space as sacred, because no one understands the toll. And to be honest, most don't care as long as you deliver for them. Anybody living in a space right now where you feel as though you consistently deliver for other people, but yet when you need people to deliver for you or to come through for you, it's not the same, right? The energy that you're putting out is not being matched by the energy that's coming back at you. This is a problem. And then finally, one of my global African friends, she began to share an experience she had with going into the minds of a millionaire female businesswoman. And she talked about the value of what Africa has to offer. And again, this is in terms of what Africa offers the world globally in terms of resources. But here's what she had to say about how leaders present those resources to other parts of the world. She said, until our leaders understand the concept of intrinsic value, we will always be price takers. In other words, we will always take the price that's given us, and we will never be on the end of determining or setting the standards of what we're worth. To be sure, the intrinsic value of something is said to be the value that that thing has in itself or in its own right. Intrinsic value is an estimate of the actual value of something separate from how the market values it. So distinguishing intrinsic value versus market value is key. And I want to ask you this question today. Have you been downplaying your intrinsic value? Have you been setting your sights on the market value or what others see your value as? Have you been the person determining and declaring what your intrinsic value is to this world? Or have you simply just been taking what you can get or taking what has been offered to you? She said, knowing what we know about the continent, do we know what the value of Africa is in its own right? How can we let others determine the price of commodities that naturally occur to us in abundance? Same thing about yourself. How are you letting people determine what naturally occurs in you in abundance? Why are you letting other people determine the value of what you're worth? And so this was a interesting thought that just kept marinating in my mind on yesterday. And then I saw these three different confirming words, all about value, knowing your value, knowing your worth, knowing what it is that you bring to this life, knowing what it is that you bring to the table. For myself, I definitely, on the past year, I had to walk away from spaces that were no longer serving me in terms of my intrinsic value. I had to recognize that my life was more important than what someone else deemed my life as being important for. I don't know about you, but I know this pandemic has definitely taught me that some people value certain human beings more than others. And if you fit in the category of those who are quote unquote deemed not as valuable, maybe you're a black person, maybe you're indigenous, maybe you're a person of color, maybe you are a woman, maybe you're fitting in these marginalized categories where people do not value you in the way that you should be valued. You have to decide and you have to make up your mind how you are going to respond to your intrinsic value being marked down based on the market value around you. Are you going to let people continue to devalue you? Are you going to let people decide where your value should be placed? Are you going to let people decide whether or not you're worthy of worth? That's a question that you have to decide for yourself. And so my Monday motivation encouragement to you today is know your worth, know your intrinsic value, and don't let anyone or anything talk you out of your worth and out of your intrinsic value. So this has been my Daring Dialogues for today. The world may return to normal on tomorrow, but I just wanted to make sure that I put this word out into the world, and I shared with you what I felt the Lord was sharing with me about knowing your worth and knowing your value and not letting someone downplay it. The last thing I want to share is, in knowing your worth and in knowing your value, sometimes, as Pastor Gregory said, sometimes you have to be the one to close the door. Sometimes we're waiting on God to close the door, and sometimes God is looking at us like, no, I created you. You know yourself, and you should know when to close the door on something that's not bringing you value. Recently, I had to close the door myself. I had someone that followed me on social media, and the first time they reached out to me, they reached out to me concerning my coaching services. And I got online and I was excited about helping them. And I took time to just type up all of the services that I provide and gave all of my links and things. And they, talked about the different courses that I have provided that are on replay for anybody who wants to take themselves through some self-discovery sessions. They're available on demand. And so I put that out there. I told them about the courses. I gave them the links for purchase. And then they turned around and said, "Oh, I can't afford it." That's not a problem. I do offer payment solutions, and so that wasn't an issue. But nevertheless, I said, well, consider me for the future when you can't afford it, right? Because I'm not going to lessen my price because you can't afford it. I just may not be that person to walk you through the area of transformation that you need. So that was the first time. Then the second time, the same person emailed me, "Hey, I have a editing project, and can you help me with it?" So I hopped on my email and I gave them the information, and told them about the process that I take people through for editing, put up my links, and let them know, hey, if you want a consultation so we can discuss your project, here's what it's going to cost. Got an email back saying, "Oh, well, I'm not quite ready for it, and I'll get back with you." Same person. Second time. This third time, this person emailed me again. And they said, "Hey, I love all of your products. I love, the fact that you do podcasting, and I love the fact that you're doing live streams, and I really enjoy listening to you, and I like what you are involved in. Can you show me how to set up a podcast?" Again, I got back, emailed, and this time, this is what I said. I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to read you what I said, and then I'm going to read you that person's response. Okay? So this is what I said on the third time. On the third time that this person approached me for goods and products and services. "Hello. This is the third endeavor you have inquired about, and I am wondering if I am the right person to assist you, or if you need coaching to prioritize what you want to launch. Previously, you inquired about coaching. Then you inquired about editing. I provided the follow-up information, and I'm prepared to meet about it. Now you are inquiring about a podcast setup. As a creative consulting firm, none of my services are offered for free. I have no problem setting up a consultation and or training with you. I just need you to understand that they are not free. If you're interested, we can set up a date and time and I will provide the link for registration. But services that you are asking for are business services that I provide. I just want to be clear on that. Here is this person's response. Hi, I had to laugh at the first line of your response because I knew you would say that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the conversation ended for me. Because clearly, number one, you're not taking the fact seriously that this is a professional service that I provide. In other words, there's nothing funny about that. This is what I do. This is how I earn a living. So if you don't understand that, then I am definitely probably not the person to help you. So did I take time to read through the rest of what she said? Yes. But when people tell you what they think about you the first time, believe them. This is the first time that this person has made it clear that they're not actually looking for help, or at least they're not looking to pay for it, right? So they ended their response to me by saying, there seems to be videos I can view on how to set up a podcast. So I'll go ahead and follow those. In other words, I want your time, but I'm not willing to pay for it. I want your expertise, but I'm not willing to pay for it. I know where I can find the information at for free, but I just want to see if you're going to give it to me for free, though I know that this is what you professionally do. At that point, I made the decision to close the door to this person. Not only did I block them from emailing me, I also blocked them from all of my social media platforms. Why? Because this person consistently comes on my platforms and they consistently post underneath my platforms asking for help. When I send them to the proper channels, they email me and then they respond with, I don't want to pay for your services. So that tells me that this is not someone that should be in my sphere of influence. This is not someone that should have access to me. This is not someone that should be having access to my social media platforms. Neither should they have access to my professional networks, which are tied to my social media platforms, because I don't want any of my professional friends to endure someone asking for free stuff, knowing that they're not going to value their goods and their services. So I just want us to be very clear that there are people that will come, that will approach you, that will disregard you, that will downplay your intrinsic value. And you have to be the one to make the decision to shut off the access to people who are trying to deliberately downplay your intrinsic value. You know what you bring to the table. I know what I bring to the table. I am a best-selling editor. When I edit people's work, they make best-selling lists. I know that. So I'm not going to downplay my value. I'm a highly effective teacher. I was nominated as a teacher of the year at my local school. So I'm not going to downplay my intrinsic value. I am a 5-star tutor. I have not ever gotten anything under 5 stars rating for when I actually tutor students or adults and help them to pass tests like SAT, ACT, professional certifications. So I'm not going to downplay my value. You have to know your value, and you have to know what you bring to the table. Someone said, I don't remember who, but they said, know your value and add tax. Now, if you are a part of my network, if you join my Patreon family, you know that you automatically get discounts on whatever products, goods, and services that I offer. You also get quarterly gifts that I send out personally, that I handwrite notes for personally to thank those who actually believe in what it is that I provide and what I bring to the table. But if you're not in that space, then yes, you're going to pay market value for my goods, products, and services. So this has been another episode of Daring Dialogues, and I've been your host today, Shantae Charles. I hope that you will take away from what I've shared today. If you just came on, please go back and rewatch from the beginning. I shared some very powerful things that were said by three of my personal friends, three friends in my circle, about knowing your value. One of them talked about having to close necessary doors. The other one talked about how their mindset had to change about their value. And the last one talked about the value of resources and knowing your intrinsic value versus your market value. So if you'd like more of this content, you can find me on Instagram at Daring Dialogues. I'm also on Twitter at Daring Dialogues, and I'm also on anchor.fm/Daring Dialogues. Remember, light is the most daring opposition to darkness, so continue to go out and be light. And don't let anybody dim your light. All right? Take care. I hope you have a wonderful day. And know, always know, your own intrinsic value. Nobody can set that for you but you.